Good.
Good after evening and welcome to the Ham Radio Kids Table. This is not your grandfather's ham radio. We're going to rent you the seat, but you'll only need the edge.
Man, dang it, Vince! I messed it up once again. I
Got
don't
your
know.
back, buddy.
I appreciate that because I tell you what, I feel like I don't know. The words are there. They're at the tip of my tongue. They're coming out.
Yep.
But then it pauses. So
You know to happen.
It does happen.
Performance
well, hey, enough
anxiety.
That's yeah.
All right.
Okay. All right. Enough of that. Hey guys, welcome to the Ham Radio Kids Table. We are here tonight and we are joined by our friends from up north and to Vince's, would it be your right or your left?
It'd be to my west.
To your west, to Vince's west. We have Shuey and I believe Matt from the Black Sheep Radio Club, which you guys are in the British Columbia primarily, but I see from your website that we've also got maybe a second chapter and possibly a third one coming. Is that correct?
Oh man, I don't even know how many people are in this club. It's a bit of a shadowy cabal, but yeah, we got Matt was kind of the first one to kind of take it mainstream, and yeah, he got club call, and then one of the guys up north's getting a club call. There's a couple of guys in the States I think that are going to get club calls now, but yeah, it's they're all over the place.
Gotta love it. So it is Matt, correct? Because I'm horrible with names, and I do apologize.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. So are you guys both in the same area then, or?
We're just north of Victoria on Vancouver Island for the Americans there, which is I think it's south of that parallel. So we're actually closer to the States than we are to the rest of Canada. We're both here on the Spanish Peninsula.
Oh, right on. So I'm curious, how did you guys find each other, and how did you link some of these shenanigans to amateur radio? Because one of the things talking about, kind of like one of the things here at the kids table is obviously, this is not your grandpa's ham radio anymore. We're not asking for permission. We're going to go out and have fun. And I think that so many people have forgotten that this was a hobby, and they forget to have fun. So how did you guys meet up to start the shenanigans?
Well, yeah, that's a good question. I'll take it, Shuey, if you don't mind, because so Shuey's been in Victoria for a long time, and he's been doing all sorts of radio, soda, and he's been getting out there and just doing all kinds of like QRP and fun stuff. And then I moved to Vancouver Island in 2021. And so I was talking to some friends of mine on Twitter at the time, X, and we were just talking about. I was like, "Yeah, I'm moving to the island, and I got a place out here." And they were like, "Oh, you should know this guy Shuey. He's out there. I wonder if you guys are nearby." And so I messaged him, and I was like, "Hey, I'm moving to this small town just north of Victoria, which is already kind of a small town." I was like, "It's called Central Saanich," and I was like, "I don't know if you're part of it," or he's like, "I'm in Central Saanich," and it turns out we're like maybe a 10-minute drive from each other. I think no matter what frequency we're on, we can hear each other basically on ground wave from our two home shacks, and so we started chatting and saying, "Well, I don't know, I like to get out and do this and that and that kind of thing," and went from there. And we've been doing radio shenanigans ever since. And it's we launched like a high altitude balloon together. We've been on POTAs, we've been on sodas. We're doing like Atno activations, like just all kinds of things. And Shuey, take it away from there.
Oh, that pretty much covers it. Yeah, no, we just I was actually locked in a hotel room prior to deploying during COVID, and I was just starved for human interaction. And Matt and I started chatting, and then he drops this, "I'm moving to Central Saanich." Like, oh man, this is awesome. So it's been that. The rest is history.
Well, That's awesome. And I kind of feel like that seems very similar to the story that a lot of us have in the YouTuber community, although we're not, like 10 minutes away from each other, but we get together, field day, or not field days, but well, they do. So the guys down in Texas do, they'll get together for field day. But the big ham fest, Dayton and Orlando, and then also down in Huntsville, and kind of do the same thing. There's shenanigans about, and it's fun to have friends to do this with. I think.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure.
And I think like for us, there are some local ham clubs, and same because I come from Vancouver originally, from there where I first got into ham radio, and I think some of the challenges for us, like to find people in our same sort of age bracket and sort of lifestyle, because a lot of them are retired, and so they're operating like mostly on repeaters, and talking back and forth on those. They've got the same announcement net, every day. They have nets at like noon. They've got their meeting, on like Wednesday mornings at 10 o'clock and things like that. And you're like, well, I've got a job, so like I can't do that, right? And
Right.
and that kind of thing. And then their idea of operating is just sort of being at home and operating from the shack, and they're not really on simplex, if for lack of a better word. And so we're mainly HF guys. We like to go out and be in the bush, try new things, try some antennas, get lost, break stuff, that kind of thing. And that's sort of how we ended up in the Black Sheep. Some people reached out and they're like, hey, I see you've activated a bunch of new stuff. I see you're posting these pictures, and mind you, we don't go like crazy far, but we're on logging roads and stuff like that, and we're going out to places, and we just activate a lot. If you see our QRZ pages, we got a lot of contacts on there, doing contests and things like that. And so I think from there, they were just like, you sound like you're about that stuff, so why don't you come join? And then from there, we had a lot of conversations about getting a club call and getting new people involved and things like that. And it just keeps being more fun every few months,
Yeah.
Awesome. I was just looking at some of your guys' Twitter posts. The June VHF barbecue contest. Was it a barbecue contest or a contest barbecue?
Yeah, it depends who you ask. It was
Right.
it was we had a barbecue during the contest. So it was Matt held the radios down while we barbecued. We'll say.
Well, I mean, priorities, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Gotta have priorities.
Yeah.
Sure sounds like it.
And I think the barbecue is like a great example. So like, we know I have a lot of friends, like in my personal life, my professional life, stuff like that, who find ham radio interesting, but they're not licensed. The barrier to get into ham radio is something that everyone talks about. It's higher than most stuff. If you want to get into fishing, there's probably a pond near where you live somewhere, and you can get $50 and go down and to your local sporting goods store and get a rod and reel and start doing fishing, right? And you get into that. And it's like, for ham radio, the exam in Canada, the initial exam is 100 questions. It covers all sorts of stuff, and it's great, but it's a really high barrier. And that's just to get even on VHF, to do APRS or to do repeaters or to do any of that kind of stuff that's just like really basic to get you into radio is really kind of hard. And then because of that, I think a lot of really smart people who are really interested don't get the experience that they need to sort of pass that exam. And a lot of the clubs, they'll offer these courses. And again, same thing. Who has 6 weeks to spend every Sunday? People with kids, people with families. I can spend every Sunday for 6 weeks. It's like, I mean, for that, you might as well, join up like Shuey did, get in the military. Like if you're making that kind of commitment, right? And so it's just one of those things where we're always trying to get people in to try ham radio. And then one of the things I've seen, which was kind of lousy, is if I'm out activating somewhere and I've got all my gear set up, and you'll have people come by and be like, oh, what is that? And they're like, oh, that's ham radio. And a lot of times there's like a lot of young kids or like teens and stuff, and they're like, oh, like you can talk around the world on that. Like they know the concept, they've heard of that. And then I'm like, yeah, and I spin the dial, and it's like some old guy talking about his hernia. It's like, oh, I just got back from the hospital, and oh, what's the weather like? Oh, and it's so boring. And we're trying to compete with the internet, with video games, with social media, with like TikTok and stuff. And it's like, it doesn't, like so many times I've spun that dial and I'm like just praying, like, oh, please be something interesting on this. And it's just like, oh, I can't find my keys and the tractor. Oh, and so like, it's never anything, so the contests I found have been this really fun way to say, hey, like the goal is to just get as many people as we can and just start hitting it, and turning the beam, and are we going to pounce? Are we going to call CQ? Stuff like that. And you get people involved, and then people have a great time. And if you see like the photos and stuff like that barbecue, like everyone was having a really good time, and was really involved. And it's like, maybe we get a few people out of it. Maybe we don't. But I think it's just, yeah. I mean, like, Shuey, what were your thoughts on that barbecue?
Well, I mean, and there's obviously good equipment that you've got here at the barbecue.
That was, and the funny part about that, I think that was about 8 o'clock in the morning.
It's 5 o'clock somewhere.
Yeah,
that's right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, barbecue is great. And like the other thing too is like, yeah, like a lot of the people that come to our stuff aren't necessarily hams, but like I had some friends who wanted to go camping. They like same thing, new to the military. They weren't from Victoria, and like the thing people don't understand, and I got really frustrated with in the soda community. Apparently, like this is a mountainous region, and it's covered in jungle that makes the Amazon rainforest look like a walk in the park. Yeah. So it's like you can't exactly just hit a logging road and go camping. So they asked me when these kids approached me and said, hey, like, would you take us camping? And I said, yeah, sure. Where do you want to go? And they had no idea. And then Matt had been looking at this park that had never been activated before. So I said, hey, do you want to go out to this area? I got a buddy who wants to do some radioing out there. And then it's a lot easier to get people to come when it's like, hey, let's go out, have a couple drinks, have a fire, shoot some guns, have a great weekend together. Oh, and by the way, I need you to carry this battery up a mountain for us. And they like, that's, and many hands make light work, but yeah, we've had some really good trips, and like, it sure beats when Matt and I do it. We're hauling stuff up through these goat trails and stuff. And yeah.
So, our resident Canadian, oh God, what's Frank call him?
I don't know.
Well, he's got a name for Jody. I don't know. Jody brings the snark, and he says, kudo on the safety first approach, keeping the respectful distance between the mug and the laptop. I mean, that is an important thing. You don't want to damage your gear while you're out in the field.
Or drinking.
Or spill any whiskey. Bourbon, the case might be.
Yeah.
I can't even get bourbon anymore.
That's some Jack.
I can't make any political statements, but it's all about these tariffs. It's
gotcha. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well.
Yeah.
I got you. I might have to send someone on a ship up there.
I have to think of their trip to San Diego, all expenses paid.
There you go.
Sorry, I meant to mention it earlier too when we were talking about how Matt and I got together. I keep getting distracted by the chat. Like we did a couple radio things, and like, just local parks and stuff. And it's like when we started venturing farther out, like when Matt says we don't go too far, like we're going 100 miles off a paved road, like into the woods. Like there's nobody around. And like Matt's got the passion for radio and the technical know-how. And it's like, I love doing the logistics. I like looking at the maps. Like here, Matt will be like, here's a park out in the middle of nowhere. How do we get there? And I'll be looking at maps and Google Earth. And my son and I spend a lot of time when we're out hunting or fishing, wrecking some of these areas. And like, we've like same with the first park we did, Carmana. It's like you can't drive into that park. Well, through research and exploring and stuff, I found a road that goes 10 feet into the park. And that's how we got our first big trip. And then, so same thing. Like that's what I love doing. I love looking at the maps and figuring out and driving and navigating. And then once we get there, I just want to crack a drink and start a fire and cook a steak. And Matt does the radio end of it. And it's been a tremendous partnership.
So, B. Wallen's got an interesting question. Any Sasquatch stories from the Black Sheep guys while out activating?
There's a few stories. I'll tell you, we half of it's from the people. When we did our big trip out to Carmana Walbrand, it's a provincial park and it's pretty untouched out on the west coast of Vancouver Island. And the first thing we had to fight was there was these ongoing logging protests. And so we had to take it was maybe like 75 miles up this logging road, but we ended up doing something like 300 or something like that, Shuey, because the first road we took was blocked by protesters. And we came up to this camp and they were just they were not thrilled with us. They thought we were, they didn't know who we were. And we had all these antennas and all this gear and all this stuff hanging off this truck. But we weren't the typical people that you'd see at that on that side of the protest, and so they weren't too thrilled with us, and they backed us around, and we told them that we kind of came to a head a little bit because we were like, listen, like you're not the police, like you're not going to stop us from going down this road. And then another guy came over and he was like, well, he's like, listen, he's like, if you get past us, there's the logging company has a blockade up a bit further, and so I was like, all right, And so I was like, those guys, they've got guns. They'll stop us. And so we had to go back and,
You can't flash your I'm a ham radio operator badge and get
I know
we
didn't have the e-com vests. Is what
that's it. See,
like Matt was
lessons
saying,
learned.
The road we're going down, it's kind of a shortcut, I guess you'd call it. And it's about 75 miles to miles, not kilometers, miles to where we were going. And it was blocked by security guards.
Yeah.
They were trying to stop people getting in there to supply the protesters. So we had to go, it was about 125, 130 miles detour to get actually probably even more than that, but like to get around this blockade. And like, same thing. I don't like pulling this card, but I was like, listen, sir, like you've got two vehicles. You've already taken pictures of us and our license plates. 3 out of 4 of us were in the military. It's like, here's our military IDs. Like, we're going to play ham radio in the woods. You can search our stuff. They would not let us through. And it was, So then once we went around all the way around the bottom half of the island, that's when we started running into protesters.
Yeah. And then, when you get out there, there's been weird stuff. There's all kinds of weird stuff where you'll hear like gunshots in the night, and you're really far from hunters. That's fun. Or you'll hear like animals that and then at night every tree is spooky. When you've never been there before, when you're like a few beers in, it's less spooky. But then when it starts wearing off,
I do have a Sasquatch story, but Matt wasn't there. I was doing soda by myself, but there was one night we were on Salt Spring Island, which is like just like a 30-minute ferry ride across, Matt. And we were hunkered down in this tent in the middle of an atmospheric river. There was water in the tent. We were both soaked, like hypothermic. I think we'd ordered pizza because like we were just so cold. The only thing keeping us alive was I just happened to bring a propane lantern, and that was the only source of heat we had. And it was just, it was my fault that we even went because I was like, a little rain, whatever. But I came out of the tent, and like, again, it's not late per se, like maybe 9-10 o'clock. And to go and meet the pizza guy who was risking his life to bring us pizza. And I got my flashlight, and all I could see in the trees was like all these sets of eyes, like dozens and dozens of sets of eyes. And this has happened. Like I spent a lot of time in the woods. I've seen eyes in the trees before, but never like 200 of them. And I'm like, what is going on? And Matt came out. We're looking at it like, this is weird. And it was a herded deer that was out there.
In the trees?
But,
They were
yeah,
waiting
like
for pizza
we're in the woods.
crusts.
Oh,
Yeah.
in the bush. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, this giant herd of deer was just passing through where we were camping. But as for Sasquatch, I was out doing a soda one time in the middle of nowhere, and I kept finding these trees on the. It wasn't even a trail; it was probably a logging road from 150 years ago that was all overgrown, and there were all these like trees about that big around on the side, and they were all snapped, like not cut. Like somebody took it and broke this tree, but like 8 feet off the ground. And I thought it was really weird. So I took a couple pictures, and I can't remember how I showed this guy this picture, but I have a guy who's like a legitimate, like, Aboriginal trapper, and like lives off the land. He's a good friend of mine. And he's like, "Oh, you know what those are? Those trees?" And I said, "What?" He said, "Those are Sasquatches. That's how they mark their territory." And he's asking me all these questions, and it's like, "Yeah, you know what? I did get about halfway up that hill, and I got the worst, like a really bad feeling." And I turned around and went the other way to try and find an actual trail. And then he said, "Oh, no problem. Next time you go, just take a bag of apples and leave the bag of apples. They won't bother you." And I've never had a chance to test it out, but
Well,
yeah, that's my one Sasquatch story.
And now I'll point out the Canadian, the Canadianism there. That's a Sam Squanch, right?
Sam Squanch.
Sam
And for-
Squanch.
And for those of you who've never seen Trailer Park Boys, you're missing out.
Yeah.
Corky QRP says it was Digital Rancher that broke the tree.
I
It's kind of tall.
can confirm he's tall.
He
Yeah.
is tall. I can't remember. Is he 6'7", 6'8"?
He's 5'17".
5'17". He's a
I
basketball player.
don't know. He's a big boy.
So, awesome.
Oh, man.
And so you do soda, Matt. What about you? Do you do soda, or is it just the POTA? Or
Yeah, I think we do both. There's not a lot of soda on the island. There's a bigger group that does that. I think for the POTAs we've been doing, we got really into the trying to do as many in one day as possible. They've got those awards for roving, and there's like 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, and I think it's like a 30-part one, if I'm not mistaken.
wow.
And so I think we went around and we did the 20-part one once, and that was fun. Trying to do those, activate new parks that haven't been activated before by anybody. There's still a handful of them as you go up the Vancouver Island, which starts to get more and more remote. And so we really like finding those and getting in there. And just working with like BC Parks, they've got great maps and stuff to sort of help you sort those out. But yeah, just doing some of those. And then we got really into the sort of contesting. We're not going to win, but we try to be like the best 7 call, on the board and things like that. And that's kind of what led us to getting that club call, just so we can keep it all sort of contained under one roof. And then from there, then a bunch of other people started wanting to get club calls and whatnot. And it kind of broke the dam on that. And now sort of I don't know if you see like our like lookups on like QRZ, but I know it's gotten out of control. And I think people start, trying to see who are these guys on air who are kind of messing around, and calling CQ from weird places, and just kind of go from there.
So the another thing too, like I used to do all soda. I used to make fun of POTA, and I know POTA's changed the rules back from what they were, and they're a lot better now. But like Vancouver Island, again, it's mountainous, it's covered in jungle. There's not a lot of infrastructure once you get out in the way of roads and stuff.
Yeah.
And like you can't take a compass bearing. I mean, I've done it, but it's not easy. You can't take a compass bearing and get to the top of a hill. There's cliffs, there's stuff, and then you do all this effort. You climb a mountain, you get up to the top, you freeze your ass off. Pardon my French. Activating it, and you get 1 point. And it's like you get guys in Arizona that walk a ridgeline and get 70 points in a day. It just I got frustrated with it, and like it's not worth the. Not that I do anything for the rewards, but like you're not getting anything out of it other than climbing a mountain with radio. So I've kind of I still do soda every once in a while, like for a contest, we'll climb up to the top of a hill just for height. But yeah, it's soda here, man. There's one guy who's really committed to it, and like if he lives to be 350, he might become a mountain goat.
And another thing too, a lot of our local mountains are there's these massive government repeaters up there for the police station. They have a VHF I think it's VHF system for the police, but they moved to this big encrypted network, and it just it washes out a lot of signal across even HF. So some of that's a little harder to do. That you got to kind of go out there, but not to make.
Is there restrictions on because of the repeater sites being up there? Are there restrictions from being on the mountain, or
no? It's just a lot of interference. And they've got these big, thick digital signals that they send out, and yeah. So because it's like the police out here are like of the right size that it was feasible for them to go digital with a trunked network that they have encrypted. Whereas like the bigger cities, you're kind of better off because they can't. It would be too costly for them to do. But ours was just about the right size to move to this digital system, which kind of funny.
So I'm just looking at Vancouver Island. How long is Vancouver Island? It looks almost, if I'm reading, it looks like longer than the state of Washington. I mean, not across
all day long.
Yeah,
all day long.
Huge.
Yeah, it's pretty big. Yeah, and it's wide, and like she was saying, really, it's almost like for almost like a similar example, it's kind of like a Florida where the bottom right is really populated, and that's got a lot of infrastructure, but then everything else is like the panhandle of it is kind of just like all very, very remote. A lot of the communities up there are like fly in, fly out.
So this is like the Canadian Everglades, then, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah,
the island is 283 miles in length and 62 miles wide at its widest, 12,400 square miles, according to the Wikipedia.
Matt and I live on a peninsula, so like when I tell you we drive 100 miles on dirt roads to go where we're going, like for that last trip, like it was a 3-hour drive to get to the point where we could get to the dirt roads.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
And then the wildlife out here too. They have these amazing forests with old growth that are, hundreds of years old. And some of it's been logged, and some of that you can go up through the logging roads. But even there, it's pretty dense. And then once the logging road is once they're done logging, they decommission the logging road. They pull out the culverts, and so a lot of it's like almost 4x4 you got to get through. Oh, yeah. So it's always a challenge to try and find something that we can get through, and go from there.
Speaking of 4x4, do you guys wheel then?
Not yet.
Hobbies
No.
are
almost mandatory, right?
My son and I have gotten my truck in some pretty interesting spots. We've like when we did that first Carmana trip, we did some pretty good four-wheeling to get up to where we needed to go. But yeah, we don't again, like especially a lot of times when it's just Matt and I'm not pissing around, like we're not taking any chances. So
yeah, and we've had a lot of fun, and then as we do the easier ones, as we keep taking that low-hanging fruit off the board, every summer it's like, how many hours of daylight do we have, how far can we get, and where can we start planning some of this stuff out. And I think we're getting to the point now where they're gonna have to be like overnighters or even a 2 or 3 nighter for some of these to get into these parks that are like really, really remote. And there's like a lot of ecological reserves and places that you're allowed to go to. It's just nobody does because it's so far out there. And finding how to get in there too.
Yeah,
So
and 45 says we drove to Ucluelet from Victoria to go fishing. There are no straight roads.
No,
absolutely not. But Tim, there's a request in the chat for something on Discord.
I'm sorry.
There's a request in the chat for a back channel link on Discord. Hey, guys, any run-ins with bears while you're off doing stuff?
Not well. I don't think we've run into any bears. My son and I run into them all the time when we're out hunting or fishing, but never had a real problem. One time, I told my son to pull his phone out because I thought the thing might come at us, but cooler heads prevailed.
Wait a minute. Pull your phone out. What, you mean like you're going to throw your phone at the bear, or?
No, I wanted some proof that if I had to put the bear down, there was a reason for it.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Or otherwise known as your potential last photo ever taken.
Well, yeah, for sure. I'm sure my son would have got a lot of TikTok views on it or something.
Yeah, right on.
So it's out of curiosity, because here in the States, in most states, we can carry, even the states that don't have a lot of gun control, when you're out out, away from civilization kind of thing, it's a little different story. How do they handle that up there when you guys are out in the wilderness areas? Because I know you guys have had some changes in your gun laws, and hunting is not, I mean, I think it's still a active hobby, but how does that, when you're out doing a Parks on the Air in one of these remote places, because I see the YouTubers with the bear spray, and I'm kind of, I don't know if I'd trust my life to bear spray. I'm just saying.
Don't let my wife hear you. She carries bear spray when she's out hiking. No, it's I don't know. Like, the gun laws are pretty asinine up here, but like, you can still carry a shotgun or a rifle out in the woods, no problem.
Okay.
If you've got all the appropriate paperwork and
Okay.
Yeah, and like same, like, I always, whenever I don't go out in the woods without my 12 gauge and properly loaded, and then when I'm out of the truck, and there's all sorts of safe carrying laws and all that stuff, but you can sling your shotgun over your shoulder or lean it up against the truck and while you're camping.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, maybe they're just not showing it because they're on YouTube with it or something, but I always wondered that. Not against bear spray, but maybe that'd be the first.
First line of defense.
First line of defense would be to, whatever. Well, I don't know. We don't have bears around here, or at least nothing too. So
funny story about the bear spray. Like, I would honestly say it was harder for my wife to buy bear spray than it is for me to buy ammunition. Like, number one, you can't carry it for anything other than bears, like, other things that might prey on women.
Correct.
And like, we had to go to a store, to like the store that sold it. She had to fill out a form, I believe.
Yep, that's correct.
And then like same thing, they do this, and it drives me nuts. Like, they walk you to the front of the store. Like, when I go buy ammunition, they carry the ammunition to the store or to the till, and then like follow me out and make sure I leave. Like, I was going to shoot the place up, and I forgot the second thing on the list of stuff I needed. But so it's even bear spray here is tightly regulated.
Wow.
Yep. Yeah, that's exactly right. We sell it at the candy store, and people kind of roll their eyes and they pull out their driver's license and fill in the form. I had to do the same thing when I bought mine.
Yeah. Because Vince, you do a lot of remote activations too, right?
Yeah, and I carry bear spray. And if I'm going off grid, I borrow one of the satellite devices. I did have it on the bench there behind me. I borrow a Zoleo spotter.
Satellite devices.
A Zoleo spotter to take with me. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
I thought it was a Smith & Wesson.
My son has allergies, so I'm like same thing, because I take him hunting in the same areas where we go out and do these things. Like, we're out there, and so I have one of the Garmin InReaches, and it's invaluable. Yeah.
This is the competing product to the InReach. It's got great battery life.
Yeah.
So indeed. So what's next on your hit parade of places you want to get to, activate, do?
There's a couple parks that are probably only accessible from like a canoe, like to drive out into the bush, go into possibly like a remote, like First Nations town, which for Americans, it's like a Native American reserve, and have to launch from there through to another upriver and stuff. So yeah, there's a few that we're thinking about that are like on the map. They're very close, but in reality, they're not accessible.
Yeah.
And that kind of thing. Yeah, Shuey's got a bunch of stuff cooking too.
Yeah, there's a bunch of atnos up, like way up island. We've been looking at. We were actually supposed to do a trip instead of when we did Carmana again, but again, we're dealing with military people coming with us, so it's like we could never get a firm guest list with who was going to be in town and who wasn't, and we were either going to have way too many people or not enough. And about a week out, I was just like, man, we can't do this. Let's just take the safe route, or well, not safe, but safest route, and pull the pin on this. I think we're going to try again in September. But yeah, again, it's like 6-7 hour drive. We don't know if it's like 25 kilometers or 2 kilometers in canoe, because I can't verify the roads on the map. And but again, it's an adventure. So we're going to go give it a whirl.
Got a couple more questions here that have come up in the chat. You guys ever run across Ham Jazz Simon?
Yeah, he's really close to us. He's down in Victoria. He operates a lot on. He's a big gray line guy, and he gets great QSOs from there. And then I think even recently too, he's been getting out on boats as well and going into some of that stuff in the water down there. If you sort of zoom in towards the bottom, he's a great guy.
Yeah,
I can't honestly remember if I've ever met him. I don't think so, but I've definitely got a ton of park to parks with him, man. And what a nice guy. So enthusiastic.
No kidding.
Great ambassador too. Like, I mean, Matt and I joke sometimes when we're out in the woods freezing our ass off that, struggling to get 10 contacts. Like, oh, it must be nice to have all these people on YouTube that can, But no, I mean, what a great guy. Like, great ambassador. Man, the enthusiasm. I can't stress how enthusiastic that guy is.
Oh yeah, if you could take a 0.1% and bottle it up, you'd be twice as much as you are now.
Now, just in case he's watching, he keeps threatening to buy us a beer, and
No, and I think I think he's a great ambassador because he's showing. There's a lot of limitations to ham radio, so it's like, can I talk to a certain place at a certain time? Depending on the bands and things like that, it's like that might not be possible. But it's like he just shows what's out there and what's available, and he's so positive and enthusiastic that it's like I'd like to see him as an ambassador for radio and to say, hey, this is what's interesting and unique about ham radio versus like sitting on your phone on TikTok all day, right? Or even playing like a multiplayer game, getting on the Xbox and like having fun with friends. Like, I think he's a good example for that. And
for sure.
Yeah.
For
so
sure.
It's weird. You guys have a lot of POTA parks, but once again, scale looks so different. So you said it was how many miles from?
It's 287 from tip to tip and 60 some at the widest.
Okay.
Yeah. And so you'll see down at the bottom right, there's the on the southeast corner of there, that's where everybody is.
Yeah.
So you see the proliferation of those parks. And then as soon as you sort of head west to any sort of amount, that's when you're just getting off road and stuff like that. And what always gets us more than the bears and the Sasquatches is the weather. It's a rainforest on in this part of the world. It's not a tropical rainforest, but it's a rainforest nonetheless. And so when I always laugh with my wife when we're talking about like the contests like Field Day or Winter Field Day or any of like the VHF contests or things like that, those are on a fixed day. And so the weather on Vancouver Island could be great the day before and great next weekend, but the weekend I have to go out to do a contest and rove or whatever, it's just torrential rain. We've been seeing really, really big rainstorms in the past few years. We were, like Shu was saying, that one time we were out on Salt Spring Island camping. It was an atmospheric river, which is one of those, new like terms they're using for just a dump of rain. And we were just so completely hosed. And then like the next couple of days was like beautiful weather, and so it's just kind of like we only have the days to operate that we have. Yeah. And so we're always just trying to fight the weather there.
So how are you getting over to those islands? Is it a commercial boat or?
Yeah, there'll be like commercial ferries that'll take you over, like the government runs.
Yeah, but like the weather, and again, like I get these, Saskatchewan farm kids coming through, and they're like, oh, I want to go hiking, and it's like the weather in these mountains, like the weather comes right off the Pacific Ocean. And like last May long weekend, my wife and kids were sitting in the backyard in their bathing suits in 30 something degree weather Celsius. And Matt and I were up in the mountains getting snowed on, and this far away on the map. It's just insane.
It's just 2 centimeters away. I was going to say half an inch.
Yeah.
But.
Yeah. Like we were almost exactly where your little blue pin is, the park north of that. Yeah. And I don't know what it is as the crow flies. It's not far, but it was insane. We were literally getting snowed on at the end of May.
Well, it was interesting. I was telling you, I was out in San Diego. We were up towards the mountains, still in San Diego County, but far east of San Diego, and sunny and 90 degrees. And then we go down to Point Loma by the naval base there at the mouth of the San Diego Harbor, 63 degrees and overcast in just 20, 30 miles. So big difference sometimes when you're by that Pacific weather. The weather patterns are definitely weird. And it was odd when I first moved out there. I go up on the weather deck, we'd do quarters or whatever, and we're standing. I just said that like everybody knows. Shu and I are both Navy guys, so we know that. But standing up there, we're meeting, as a team to get our orders handed down for the day. And I'm looking around, it's going to rain today. And people are like, nope, that's just morning in California, and because it would look overcast and cloudy and every day, and by noon it would burn off, and it was a beautiful day. Yeah, every day of the week. So. There's some definitely some advantages of California. So, Jeff, you got any questions?
You know what? There was one other question that came out in the chat. So, when you guys pack equipment to go off and do these activations, what's a typical setup look like? And how many roadies do you need to hump it all out?
I'll say the first thing is, the amount of times, and this drives my wife crazier than me, that I will forget something is astounding. And every time I go, and she's like, "Why don't you make a checklist?" I'm like, "No. I'm gonna check." And the amount of times I've gone, my favorite too is I was setting up once at this park, and it was maybe like an hour from home. And I get there, like everything's good, and I'm setting up the antenna. I got the coax, the radio. I got the battery box, and then I forgot the power cable to the battery box, and I'm just like, I literally, and then I packed everything back up and drove all the way home. And she's like, "Oh, you're done early," and I'm like, "Yeah, yeah."
Well,
we've definitely gotten more efficient, but like again, when I was taking my son out hunting when he was like 7, 8 years old, I brought everything. Like, you don't know what you're going to need. Right. And then like same with Matt and I, like the first trip we did, we took 2 generators. Like we had the room in the truck. So take a second generator, because who knows if the first one's going to die or it's going to use too much gas and now, I mean, I don't think we've ever used a generator ever again, but we've really streamlined it. Like we went up that last weekend, I was down to 1 Tupperware. Yeah.
That's great. Well, I'm going to show a tool here that I built, and this is available for download right off the front of my website. And this is my gear checklist. So I'm going to paste that link in the chat. Yes, that takes you to a Dropbox, and that's where my public tools are. But guys, you can take this tool and make it your own. Like every one of these tabs has something else, like another tab in behind it that lists all of the pieces that are in it. So take this and make it your own, and please use it in good
Oh, thanks.
health.
Yeah,
And
we appreciate it. Yeah,
there's no royalty fees for using it because you're fellow Canadians. And just for tonight, all of my friends from the United States of America, there's no charge for using the tool either. No royalties.
Man, Vince,
So.
I don't know, buddy. I'm glad I know you, Vince.
Well, and if you want I guess like a more radio based breakdown of what we do, I've got a 7300 that I pack around. I have a LifePo 4 battery. I don't know if you guys are probably familiar with those. Those are great. I used to take about a 20 amp hour around with me because unless I'm at a contest, I usually go QRO when I'm out there. I'll go 100 watts. And the 20 amp hour usually lasts me for about as long as I need. I go like 7-8 hours on it at 100 watts, and then we'll take something to do VHF, UHF. To get those if we're in for that. I've been using an alpha antenna, an alpha vertical. They've got some really good ones. The 7300 has that 3-to-1 tuner, so I can get. I think it's like a 10 to 40. I think the alpha vertical is 10 to 40, but even without that, I can usually tune it 80 down to 6. Like I can't work miracles on 80 or 6 with it, but I can do those. That's pretty light. I used to run a buddy pole, but you have to adjust it, or a buddy pole and a buddy stick. I used to run for a long time, but you got to adjust it. The thing about the alpha is I get enough contacts for sure, and I just hit the tune button. Like I don't have to mess with it, and it's roughly the same cost. So I encourage people to get those. And then, obviously there's a lot of guys that are, it's like, well, you get a lot of loss with that or stuff like that. It's true, but I just find it's about the same. And then just recently, this weekend, I just got a Yaesu FT991A. So that's got that in there as well. So I definitely want to try that out. But I usually would run SSB or FT8, depending on how fast I needed to turn over a park, like if we're doing those rapid activations. But I think that I love the 7300 just because it's so small and portable, and you don't need anything else. Just that and the USB and a little laptop, and you're good to go. And Chewy's got a bunch of stuff too that he runs.
Yeah, I was just trying to rack my brain. What did I use? I bought an FT991 6-8 months ago. I can't remember what I used before that. But
It was some kind of radio.
I'm sorry. I had an 891. Yeah, and then again, one of the first portable antennas I ever bought. Well, the first portable antenna, like name brand I ever bought, was the Alpha Vertical back in like 2015. And that thing is
Easy Military pop-up. And was it the Easy Military pop-up antenna?
No, it was the one after that with the big metal honking, whatever you call it. Like the Easy Military one had a little like PVC thing.
Yes, right.
Mine's got this giant heavy metal cylinder.
It's a big stainless steel one. It's great.
Yeah, I have used that thing on hundreds of activations, POTA, SOTA. I've carried it all over the world. I've set it up in the jungles of Malaysia, Hawaii, and like you just can't break it, and you can't not activate on it. But yeah, and then same thing like with the LifePo batteries, those are fairly new here, or at least they are in a cost-effective
form. It's a good way. Yep.
So yeah, like that's a miracle of science. I don't know why you guys have been sitting on those down south for so long, gatekeeping them from us. But
That
yeah,
and the
so
bourbon, man. We're bogarting it all.
yeah, I mean, I used to carry around those little SLA 7 amp hour batteries when I was doing soda for my 817, but I got 230s. I kind of built a little box, and then I can always pull one out and throw it in my backpack. And then again, like we also have, when we're doing the quick parks, we have an ATAS 120 and a 100 amp hour battery, and there's
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
5.5 amp hours right there.
Oh,
That's-
nice.
And that's only a couple pounds. I mean,
Yeah.
or I don't even think it's that much.
Then even
But-
my 100 amp hour battery, like my one of my buddies and I carried 2 like deep cell lead acid batteries to the top of a mountain in the middle of nowhere for a soda activation when we were doing a contest. And like even my 100 amp hour battery would probably last 4 times longer, and I can, like, my daughter can carry it. It's yeah, those things are amazing. But yeah, I can't think of anything else. You got anything, Matt? What we carry or?
So I'll bring a laptop. I have just an old Lenovo that I use because you could get those big batteries for it. So I've got a big battery on it, and then I found too that paradoxically, like the older the older laptops don't have so much bloatware and stuff like that. So they actually kind of run a little longer, a little leaner, especially with a new battery. I like those. We run RG8X coax. It seems pretty good for us. We have a couple of different,
The finest, cheapest coax available on Amazon.
There we go.
And we have
Super
a couple.
bad.
Yeah, right. And we run a bunch of those. Pretty much, I think the thing for us is the sort of like the interoperability or the modularity of the stuff we can do. So like we'll have a bunch of different ways to connect the radios to batteries, whether it's like the little screws on the top or, because I think sometimes you get stuck with like an Anderson power pole and then you don't have the connectors and whatnot. So we try and run with different options and see how that goes. But yeah, it's been really good.
Now that you mention it, Anderson power poles or XT connectors?
The black and red ones, I think the Andersons.
Yeah.
Oh,
We
yeah, the
call
Anderson.
Yeah. Which again are super expensive and this and that. And usually I just try to run eyelets with screws. And I have the little thumb screws with the little knob on top. So you just kind of put them in there and
You like
and away
put
it goes.
drywall screws and wrap the bare wire around it, right?
Yeah. Like you just like
Well, like
use.
That's another thing. Like, a lot of our American ham buddies don't understand. Like the stuff you can't get up here would astound you.
Yeah.
Like, same thing. You see some guy on YouTube using some gadget and it's all the rage. Or like even the Anderson power pole, I call them a body mount.
Mm-hmm.
Like you want to put an Anderson power pole connector on the top of your battery box. $85 and it'll be here in 6 months.
So, what was it? I was just talking with him last night.
KM4ACK.
Yes, he prints those and sells them.
Yeah.
I'm not
The
sure.
the STLs are somewhere out on the 3D printing sites to do
There's
those
lots of
too.
those STLs out there.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. I'm not that inclined, but yeah, it's like just an example. Like, it's crazy what you can't get up here.
I can't remember what he prints them and sells them. But
Yep.
I mean, he was talking about that last night because the PowerWorks ones are like 35 or 40, $30, where this was a third of the cost.
Yeah.
For him, for what he sells it for, is a third of the cost of the PowerWorks versions. But I do understand. Although Vince works over there at the candy store, so he's got access to a lot of that stuff.
Yeah, we have power poles and all the basics in the store for sure.
I don't know.
Jeez.
Maybe this is why Simon's making all those antennas out of anything he can find.
We are 1/10 the population of our friends south of the 49th, and we have 2 main amateur radio stores in Canada and 2 or 3 smaller stores that aren't full line. And by full line, I mean Kenwood, ICOM, Yaesu, Flex Radio, right? Those guys. And one's in Toronto and one's in Calgary. And so there are some shops that sell some radio gear, a couple in Vancouver area, one in Montreal, but that's about it. So
Well,
it is harder to get stuff for sure.
I needed a $13 cable for I can't even remember. I think it was I wanted to use my Mobile Link TNC with my 991. $13 cable. $47 shipping. From Oregon. Like, we're not crossing international borders here. Or sorry, like more than one. But yeah.
So a lot of the shops in the States, they set up with pirate ship or whatever to do their shipping, but it's heavily weighted in the favor of shipping to the United States. And when there's something on one of those sites that I really want, I'll drop them a line, and they'll usually come back to me and say, "Oh yeah, no problem. For $14, I can put it in USPS. You okay with that?" And I'm like, "Hell yes, it's better than 47."
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and like that's not a knock against any like it's all shipping for sure. But yeah, like it's just crazy the stuff. And I can't remember. I was gonna buy a buddy pole one time, way back in the day, and it's exorbitant cost for us with the exchange rate. But then the thing that broke it for me was the shipping, and like that's not their fault. That's whoever's doing the shipping. But man, yeah.
Yeah, shipping can be a bugger for sure, but
Jody says never be ashamed of running yellow branded no name coax. It's the Canadian way. That's right.
I'd love some no name coax if I could find it. Yeah, that'd be great.
I was pretty proud of us. We ran 4 antennas for the VHF contest, all with LMR 400, all appropriate lengths, no 48 connectors or nothing. We do have nice coax.
Looks like Tim's showing off something here.
This is for my next project.
It's, that's 200,
cool. 200 feet of red coax, and
where's that from?
Well, it's not Messy and Poloni.
I was going to say, is it Messy and Poloni? It's made in China.
Well, it's China, Florida.
Yeah,
China, Florida. I don't know what it is. Mooncraft. I don't know. I'll tell you what. Coax has been one of those things that it's a consumable item, and I'm not going to spend a ton of money on it.
Yeah, and
it either works or doesn't work.
Quirky QRP has an interesting observation. All kinds of issues with shipping to Canada over the years, boxes going missing in customs, but stuff just getting sent back from customs with no explanation. And you know what, James? I went down to the USPS when I left Hamvention, and I needed to ship myself a box home because it would not fit my luggage because of poor planning. And so, I fork over $80 and like, what do I put for a return address? Well, I don't live in the States, so I put that post office's return address on it at the advice of the gal across the counter from me. And I'm tracking it, and a week later, it's back at that post office. So I have to call USPS customer service and say, "Hi, can y'all tell me what went wrong here?" And they said, "We'll open an investigation." And by the time the investigation opened 2 days later, and USPS was really good about it, the gal at the counter realized what happened, that I forgot to sign the customs form, and she was double checking my work. But it's my fault. And she scrawled a signature on it and threw it back in the mail. And it eventually made it all the way to me. But it got refused at U.S. Customs before even crossing to Canadian Customs. So USPS moves in mysterious ways. That's the point of my story.
That's true. I've seen.
Sorry.
Sorry, I've seen. I was about to say that I've seen USPS do lots of weird stuff, like send a package from Tennessee to Alaska, and then to Delaware.
Oh, they must be related to Canada Post.
Yeah, so
they all operate the same way. Yeah,
it's funny because I have a ham buddy that we kind of send each other similar things every once in a while just to test this out. But like USPS will get a package from Florida to Vancouver into Canada Post hands in like 24, 36 hours. And it'll take a week to get from Vancouver to my house, where I send him a package. He's got it within 3 days because Canada Post just gives it to USPS, and boom, it's across the country and on his doorstep in no time.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I have nothing good to say about Canada Post. I've had horrible, and like not to deviate from ham radio or anything, but like it was just like every ham thing I get from them has been a huge hassle. I had I have an 897 D, one of the best radios in the world, and it was my first ham radio that I bought used, and it was great. And then I think I must have done something to it. I blew the I blew the mainframe, the motherboard. I blew the whole thing. It was real bad. And then I shipped it down to Yesu in California to get repaired. And then when they brought it back, it cost me like, more than the radio was worth. It was basically for sentimental value to get this thing repaired. And then they shipped it back, and then the Canada Post was like, I got into like this huge like Kafka-esque situation where I was they're like, oh, this is a new radio, so we're going to charge you all this duty and all these taxes, and then that's from Canadian Customs, and then they shipped to Canada Post, and Canada Post is like, well, and I'm like, no, it's not new, and I think 20 phone calls later and this and that, and it was just this like, I think I ended up having to sign some sort of affidavit to get out of paying the duty on an allegedly like newer, and then Yesu puts all the charges on there of what this thing costs, and so they think it's like I spent thousands on this thing, but it's just it was a real nightmare. Never again.
Yeah,
I had a buddy send me I can't remember. It was like a trinket, a radio trinket, and Canada Customs charged me, like, the thing was worth I don't less than $100. Canadian Customs charged me $80 for duty, and they charged me for them opening my package.
Oh, so here's a question of curiosity. Which courier was that?
Oh, that's a good question. It was the same guy, so I think it was just USPS Canada Post.
Wow, that's wild. So
Yeah.
what our friends in America don't understand when they ship stuff to us is the most economical way for us to receive the goods, assuming we're going to pay tax on it, because we are, is to ship it by postal service. Because here's what happens. That stuff comes in, it comes across the border, there's duty gets assessed on it, tariff gets assessed on it, and tax gets assessed on it. And, it's ham radio goods, it's free of duty, and it's currently free of tariffs. Canada doesn't have any tariffs on ham radio goods, but we still have to pay 5% tax plus any provincial tax that might apply. I'm in a provincial tax-free province. So we pay that fee. The courier pays it on our behalf to the customs desk, and then the courier turns around and charges us a brokerage fee. And this is a fee for handling our package. And so Canada Post's brokerage fee is $10 and up. UPS's fee is $80 and up, same as FedEx. And DHL is somewhere in the middle. Now, the rules are such coming into Canada that the courier must notify you that they're carrying this package up to you, and you must implicitly give them permission to broker it for you. It's a legal power of attorney, and they almost never do. And every time I get one of these bills from UPS or FedEx, I phone them up and I go, hey, can you all tell me what this is about? I know damn well what it's about. And they tell me, and I say, well, I don't recall giving you any legal permission to be my power of attorney at the border. So at this point in time, I'm going to reimburse you for the tax because I'm legally obliged to pay that, and you can take your fees and write them off. And I never lose that argument. Oh yeah, and I wait for the bill to get really stale, like 120 days, because under $200 you don't get reported to the credit bureau up here.
Oh,
So
man,
there's no personal knock. So
is the product
it's
delivered?
great. It's great sport, and the product gets delivered.
But before you have this phone call with?
yeah,
Oh,
they
yeah.
send me the bill in arrears.
Okay.
They don't give me a bill at the time. Now Canada Post does.
Yeah,
DHL
Canada Post
sometimes
won't
does.
release it till you pay.
Yeah,
That was the issue I was having.
yeah,
I think I went back to California like twice.
yeah. And so B. William has got a good point there. Yes, as a Canadian, I can broker my own package. Now, what it really involves me doing is taking a copy of the invoice, which the courier is supposed to deliver to my home, and they're supposed to give it to me. And then I call up the courier and say, okay, it's good to deliver now. I've got proof of payment. And then they'll bring me the package. But that's such a charming experience that it rarely works well. I was going to say fustercluck, but I didn't.
It's just, yeah, it's frustrating. It's
So there were some questions back in here. What do you guys got planned for field day?
Oh yeah. So our local ham club, not the Black Sheep, but the local one on the island. I won't give names. They used to have a place where they operated, and then they got kicked out of that because they were so distasteful, I think, to the people that were going there for normal activities. And so now they set up field day at, I don't even know if it's like public. This place out in on the coast.
it's the best you can do for guys who can't even spell HF.
Yeah. And
Okay.
and I went out there. I went because again, when I was new to the island, I tried to join all the local clubs and stuff like that, and it was such a kerfuffle, and it was like they I got there, and the first thing they did, and this is the thing, right? Like this is a hobby that's like generous. To put it generously, this hobby's dying, and we should be getting more people in, And as soon as I got there, they had like a little web posting. They're like, oh, come and bring your gear and operate this and that. And I got there and I did exactly that. And I set up and then no less than 3 people came by to say, who are you? And you can't use the club call. And I was like, I'm not in the club. I'm not doing any of that. Like, they're like, you're not using the club call, are you? Blah, blah, blah. And I was like, whoa. And they're like, what bands are you on? I was like, it was so distasteful. I was like, oh, like never again. And it was funny because there was 2 other people that were doing the same thing that we sort of banded and we're like, hey, I'm new, you're new, and this, that. And they're like, oh yeah, I'm not using the club call either. And it was just this really like, again, you get a couple of these bad apples that really ruin it. And so, yeah, we're going to see what we can do. There's some clubs way further up. Like there's one in Nanaimo that's a decent club, and they're going to see this is probably what we're going to do.
But
for,
to answer the question, I'm not doing anything for field day. Sunday is my daughter's birthday. I've been burning the candle at both ends at work and with other stuff for way too long. And plus my entire shack, all my ham radio gear is put away in boxes. Antennas are down so I can reroute everything through my wife's new landscaping. So yeah, I'm gonna take Saturday and just maybe, I don't know, sit in a chair and enjoy the sun. And yeah, I don't know about Matt, and like I don't know what the other club guys are doing, but yeah.
Yeah, and usually if somebody's operating for a contest, or if somebody's operating, just an event, or they've got something going on, we'll try and get in their logbook for that, and reach out and do that, and that kind of thing. But yeah, I think we'll have to see. Well, I think the next big contest, one of the ones we really love, is the CQ's VHF contest.
Okay.
They've got Hilltopper as a mode or whatever, which is like 8 hours or so. I think it's like 8 or 10.
6 hours.
So yeah, 6 hours of operating portable, QRP for VHF. That's a lot of fun. We usually like to hike up somewhere for that and do that. And we'll probably put some effort into that coming up in July. The Canada rack contest, the rack's like the Canadian ARRL.
The Canada Day contest, July 1st.
Yeah, that one's good. Although again, we complained about that. I actually got into a big fight with rack about that, because the winter contest, to operate as a rookie to operate as all bands, you needed to do SSB and CW, and it was never in the rules. And I was like, and they denied me, and I was like, hey, like, just, you know, like, why was this denied? Like, well, you didn't operate CW, and I'm like, hey, where is that in the rules? And they're like, well, it's in the, if you asked a question, we would have told you. And I was like, that's different from being in the rules. You know, no offense, but like, and they're like, well, you know, it's in the, if you're in the contest email distribution list, then you would have known. It's not. I'm like, again, you post the rules online, they were there. And so I was like, listen, like, you need to make it more clear. And they've actually, to their credit, they've now published this big table of what you need to do to qualify for any of the different things, and it's in there now. So it says if you want to do this, you have to make the CW QSO and stuff like that. So like, to their credit, they stepped that up. It's really good.
Was it one of those in the spirit of things?
Yeah,
like, here
yeah.
are the rules, right? But in the spirit, this
yeah,
is what
because I'm like, well, we want to encourage CW use. So I'm like, hey, like 100%, like it's your contest, you can do what you want, but you need to publish that in the rules.
Now you said the magic word, and you brought out that it got said 3 times. So that's the incantation for Vince to do a friendly reminder to say, you could cut your weight down by a factor of 10 by simply operating CW.
Yeah.
That's it. Thanks for coming to my TED Talk.
You wouldn't have any pull with the rack, would you, Vince?
With respect to,
we were just looking at the contest rules today for like these contests, and like there's nothing overtly wrong, but they've got to update those greatly. Actually, but not just rack, AARL, like all these contests or contests, whatever, they got to update their rules. There's some antiquated stuff. Like it's 2025. There's one I think it's NJP, New Jersey Contest Club or something. I can't remember. They allow teams. Like you can get together with 5 of your friends all over North America and operate a contest as a team. What a concept. Like the 5 of us could be a team.
Yep.
So there was and I can't remember. So there's a group that's you know, really wanting to bring in radio sport, contesting as a sport, and gamify it and modernize it, and be able to do, instead of having to turn your results in and wait 6 weeks or 6 months to get the results, you know, do it in real time. Things like the World Radio League, having a back end like that can grab that data and people logging in real time and getting information in real time and having little mini contests. And one of the organizers from one of the larger, I don't know if it was CW Worldwide or one of those big contests said, hey, you know what? We don't have problems. If you want to use our contest as your avenue and do something else and just have that be the activity to support your other contests, they're fine with that. But they're also fine with just keeping the rules for themselves the way they are, because that's what they want. And I don't know if there's going to ever be a happy medium between that. And maybe that is the happy medium, is to just start using that contest as a platform to spawn other contests geared towards people that want to do something slightly different.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. And, well, sorry, just jump in. Yeah, in the chat they're talking about Dave Goodwin.
Goodwin. Yep.
Yeah, great guy. And I was going back and forth
sure
with him, and he was a good guy. Yeah, and I took one of his courses too. Solid guy. As much as I dislike Canada Post, I do like Dave Goodwin. He's a great guy. Yeah.
I was going to say that, you know, do I have any pull with rack? You know what, guys? I have as much pull as you do. And the one thing I've noted about our 2 amateur radio clubs, national clubs, ARRL and RAC, in my humble opinion, and I'm entitled to my opinion, and I'm going to anger some people by saying this, the ARRL is not nearly as responsive as the Radio Amateurs of Canada is.
Yeah.
They want that input.
I got a funny story about that.
Real quick though, send all complaints to k8mrd@icloud.net.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah, we were actually sitting in here one night. It was probably the morning by this point, and Matt and I were we'd had a couple beverages, and we had a question about something, and we tweeted. I think his name's Paul McBride. He was the president of RAC.
Phil McBride. Yeah, he hangs out on Twitter, even though he's moved to Panama now.
Yeah, so we're down here tweeting this guy like, "Hey, got a question about this," and like, sure enough, when we came to the next day, he'd already gotten back to us and like, had an answer. It was great.
Yeah, no, he was really great, and I've been a member of both because I'm an American. I live in Canada, but and I've been a member of both clubs. And yeah, no, the AARL takes your money and just whatever, and they operate Logbook of the World, and that thing is ancient and looks ancient, and it got hacked, it was down for a while, and this and that. But RAC is really responsive. Every email I've sent, even my complaints, they look at, and somebody gets back to me. And they came out with this RAC Portable Challenge, which for Canadians or for people in Canada, that's a contest. It's a year-long contest where you just got to go out and operate portable. And there's like very few rules. As long as you're not at home, it counts. It doesn't have to be a POTA. It doesn't have to be a soda. If it does, that's a multiplier. That's really cool. But like, get out of your house, go somewhere, operate, you get points. And then they give out certificates every month. And then there's a year long as well. So you're in the hunt for the year. And even if you never medal or anything, I think it's like the top 10 each month get a certificate and stuff. And like, I can't, like, they're constantly looking at ways to make new interesting stuff for people. So I'm same as Shuey. I'm really cheap. I don't donate to a lot of stuff, but I pay to get the rack. I pay to get the magazine, the physical one too, and I keep them around. There should be some on my desk somewhere.
Yeah, that magazine is a sore subject with a lot of ARRL members.
Yeah, exactly.
Because they dropped theirs.
And as an ARRL member, I've only ever known digital. I've never had the paper copies.
No, but talking about contest rules and stuff, like Matt and I were part of a club, like a kind of a regional DX club, and they put on a contest, and like the rules were, I don't know, like you'll understand this, Tim. Sometimes I talk like I'm talking to a no-hook private in when I correspond with people, and Matt and I sat down and like we figured out, like, because they had a break, like the contest started on Friday. And then
2-day contest,
or 6 or 8 o'clock. I can't remember. And then it started again at like 9 o'clock the next day. Well, how do you work regional on HF at night?
It's a local QSO party.
Yeah. So I sent the lady who was running it. I thought it was a very professional and polite email, but I think I said the rules are a bit asinine. And here's what we were thinking, like, please take this into consideration, like, gave solutions to what we saw as problems. And she sent me an email back she was so offended and it was the word asinine. And it was just like, all right, you know what? I'm done trying to change things.
Jody just said something. I saw
Jody says lots of things.
Well, I saw the message, but sure's I started to say sure as shit, but yeah.
Don't do that. We'll get demonetized.
We don't want to do that. No, sir.
No, we don't want to get to that.
Once again, send all complaints to
Kate@mrd.com. Yeah.
Yeah.
Tell him Chewy says hi.
Chewy says hi. Logbook of the World will be unavailable from June 27th through July 2nd.
Yes.
Which is fine. They need to do updates, but
I think they're doing server updates.
They're doing.
Yeah, I don't think that's gonna be anything front end. I think this is
all back end stuff,
back
right?
end.
But
the server.
They're doing it during field day.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys know this. Field day might be the biggest day of the year. I don't know. Maybe you've heard of it. Field day. Have you? Maybe some guys, you can Google this. Get for the folks that don't know about field day.
Can I ask a question about field day?
Yeah.
Do they still allow those 1 echo stations, like the kilowatt home stations? It was a COVID thing.
I thought they took the power limit down to 100 max.
Yeah, it was always 100 max. That was the whole spirit of field day. Portable antennas, and you could operate as a home station, but it had to be 100 watts. And then I think it was during COVID, they brought in, I think, like 1 echo, 1 delta or something. It was like, do whatever the heck you want from your house category. And to me, like, I haven't done a field day since then. Just personally,
Well,
especially
unless
I was a QRP guy.
Yeah, unless you're in Europe, you can't use a kilowatt.
Okay, so they've changed the. I think it
I
was a
don't
one
know.
echo.
They all the people in Europe usually seem to use a kilowatt because they're on there all the time.
There's like 5 for them.
Yeah, it's like 5 watts. If you don't have a kilowatt, you're not an amateur radio.
No, I'm at 5 kilowatts.
No.
I'm looking through the rules here real quick.
I'm gonna let you guys look through rules. I gotta back out of here. Shui, Matt, great to meet you. Look forward to seeing you on the air.
Hey, Richie.
Thanks for coming out this evening. Hey, you know, one thing I know our audience would like to hear about, and I'm going to have to watch this for Team Replay, is tell us about the club's meetings, the club's rules, the club's membership fees, all of that stuff. We want to hear about that. I'm going to watch it on Team Replay. Thanks for coming out.
Yeah, no, it's nice to finally have a bit of, or not an eyeball cue, but nice to finally talk to you, or Vince, sorry.
Yeah, it'd been great for me too. Thanks, guys. See you later.
All right. See you, Vince.
Later, Vince.
Thank you.
There's not a lot we can say about the club. It's member only, invite only. It's a member supported club. There are no dues. There are no nets. And we like to say it's all BS. It's all black sheep. I think if you're out operating and you're a cool person, I was gonna say a cool dude, but everyone's invited. Yeah.
Hey, that's another point. I would like. I know they don't keep stats on these things, and I'm a happily married man, and so is Matt. But I think we might have the record for women involved in ham radio that aren't our wives, mothers, or caretakers.
Yeah, we have some pretty good stuff, and I think it just comes from the fact that there's so much stuff. And again, maybe it's just my weird circle of friends who are nerdy and like nerd adjacent, who are just like, oh yeah, ham radio is interesting, and we're like, yeah, I'm having there's a contest this weekend. It involves driving around, yelling into the radio, and trying to get contacts. Do you want to come and be like the third, be a passenger in that car? And one of the things that's like really useful is like when you're driving around and you're hearing contacts and stuff like that, trying to decipher what that contact was, right? And so the more people, the better. And you're like, oh, I think that was, Victor Alpha 7, or I think that was, Kilo Sierra Mike or something like that. And it's like, and then you're like, oh, and to have more ears listening, people pick up different stuff. And so we're always keen to have someone just come around and, hold this or help put up, help pull up the pole really quickly and stuff like that, Yeah.
Awesome. Well, guys, we were hitting about an hour and a half here. Anything you guys? So neither one of you guys do YouTube. Contest you got coming up? You said you're gonna do the Canada Day contest.
Rack Canada Day on July 1st.
Day.
VA7 F Black Sheep should be on the FBS should be on air for that, so folks can look for us on there. We're trying to be more active on FT8 as well, trying to keep those going around as well.
So make sure you guys get their club call in your ham alert. So if they get spotted anywhere, you'll get notified. You can get on the air and try to work them. And tell them you heard about them on the ham radio kids table.
Exactly.
Awesome. Well, Jeff, what do you got coming up on your channel?
I don't think any of my videos where I posted from last night, I don't think they've gotten taken down yet with the stuff I said about the Alpha Hotel and AT&T. So that's good. Working on my next video, debating what I'm going to do this weekend and waiting for the weather. Right now we've been in an excessive heat warning here in Delaware on the East Coast. So waiting to see what's happened. They said it's going to rain this weekend, so we shall see if I can get out and stay dry. So who knows?
We were supporting about the mid 90s today, and then we had a big line of thunderstorms come through this evening. So I'm assuming if we got them today, you'll probably see them soon.
Yeah,
I'm sure you get our hand-me-down weather, but I don't have I got a bunch of stuff going on. I picked up the station controller that George Sierra Systems radio over at Hamvention, and so I got that out and started messing with it. That's a whole Node-RED on Raspberry Pi to be able to manage your system remotely
Oh, that's cool.
and everything and monitor. It's got like a 4-port. I have a 4-port antenna switch. I have the ability to power down the radio. Manage it. Like so like my big concern, obviously, out here, outside of the house in an outbuilding, is when storms come through, I don't want to have to get out of get up and get dressed in the middle of the night to unplug things. So this will detect lightning and start powering down the station and disconnect the antennas automatically. So that's what I got coming up over the next couple months. Otherwise, I'll probably
You could be
doing
filming all that for the channel
as much as I can without too much profanity, because that does happen a lot. That's what happens. I go to film something and then it doesn't work the way I want it to, and I MF a few things, and then it's like I can't put it out because I have to cut everything out, right? And then it's like it doesn't make sense. But I will be probably activating for field day. I have a couple local clubs that have asked me, just doing their outreach to come out to their things. So
that's right. It is field day. I forgot.
Yeah, I am gonna show up to at least one, if maybe not both of them, for a little bit. But I'll probably just set up in the park and just do a Parks on Air activation field day. Well, I'll do field day as a whatever it is, one portable, but and log him from the park.
Yeah,
maybe it'll be a twofer. Which I understand you guys do not have twofers or threefers. Is that?
We do.
Yeah, no, we got them. We got it. Yeah.
They're hard to find.
Yeah,
they're around.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, they are rare.
I might have gotten a one Canadian twofer, I believe. I'd have to look my logs, but
maybe I thought it was Vince that was saying that the way
he said
that
something about it.
Parks are not inside of other parks.
But we have a lot of trails that run through parks, or like
gotcha. Okay.
And again, this is the part I love. There's a rare grid just to the west of us that everybody wants and needs. Mm-hmm. So Matt tasked me with finding this, like, it's 3 parks. It's a river, like a heritage river, a trail, and a provincial park inside Charlie November 7-8. And like, again, it's nerdy, but I had hours and hours of fun trying to find a spot on the map where we could activate all 3, because you got to be with 100 feet of the river and 100 feet of the trail, and then inside the park, inside the grid. And man, there was literally, we couldn't move around too much. There was like 3 square feet where we could do all 3 in the middle of this bushy. Yeah, it was great.
With Sasquatches.
Sasquatch
that eat bear spray for
for breakfast
as a condiment, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
and there's one right in Victoria too. You can do a park, a bird sanctuary, and a trail. Like, I think Vince is right. We don't have parks and double parks and stuff, but you can find the intersection between a lot of things. Yeah.
And Mike, was it N2 MAK says that he did a 2 for in Ontario. It might be a little easier out there. They have a lot more more history with parks. You got to remember too, British Columbia, like on the west coast here, is a pretty new entity. Only from like the 1860s, I think, something like that. So yeah, like it's not
that new. I mean,
come
on now.
Yeah.
It is
also a bit of a history nerd. It was 1871, man. Come on.
Yeah, come on, dude.
Yeah.
Leave it to the sailor to correct.
Hey, speaking of history, I didn't put this. Yeah. The way you flipped my camera around was really throwing me off. I didn't throw this Union Jack up to rub it in your faces. that's actually my great grandfather's from the First World War.
Oh,
very
wow.
cool.
That's cool.
Very cool.
What's the flag they have on your left there?
This one.
Yeah, your
Yeah.
your military left.
So this is the like, I mean, not the original Canadian flag. I think it's the second iteration of our flag, but this one is my grandfather's from the Second World War.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Another
so
cool thing.
he was there. He did that. He stormed Juno Beach and worked his way all up through France and Belgium, Battle of the Scheldt, the whole 9 yards, and then
Very cool.
Cool,
Yeah.
cool. All right, well, let's world history and time frame. Huh. One of the comments just caught my attention here. Well, guys, I appreciate you coming on. It's been great, and if you guys haven't done so already, please subscribe to their Twix channel. That's Twitter or X, depending on what generation you are from. Their Twix channel, and follow along with their shenanigans, and see when the next cookout's going to be at Shuey's place, and we will talk to everybody later. Once again, appreciate you stopping by, and until we get an opportunity to see each other again, I guess on the air, 73.
Yeah. Thank you very much for having us. 7-3.
All right, thank you.
73.